All right, so right now my guest is none other than Ingred Awuor. Ingrid is a fashion entrepreneur. She has been in the fashion scene for years and years and years on end. She has the experience on this. She is also a model coach, a fashion designer, and the founder of the Kenyan fashion story. Ingrid, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you.
Is there anything I missed?
No.
Yeah?
You summed it all up. Yeah.
So how long have you been in the fashion space?
13 years.
13 years now.
Yes.
As all that?
So 13 years as a fashion show producer, 13 years as a model coach, probably 15 years plus as a model, but now retired, and fashion designing 2 years.
All right.
Yes.
So I want us to talk about you as a fashion, or as a model coach first. When you talk about a model coach, you know, most people maybe do not really understand what that entails, what that looks like, because we're used to seeing the models on the runway just doing their thing. We don't know the behind the scenes. So when you talk about being a fashion or a model coach, what exactly are we looking at, and what does that entail?
Model coaching is like a tutor. The only difference is that you're not in a class setup, but some classes are theoretical, some classes are practical. So if you're a model coach, what you do is that you take a model who does not have skills, and then you want to teach these models every skill in modeling. So it starts with teaching the model catwalk, because catwalk looks very basic, but it's not. And then you have to teach the model how to make a portfolio, you have to teach the model poses, how to pose in front of a camera, you have to teach the model body posture, like upright model body posture. And it's a lot of things involved. So yeah, it's a whole course, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can anyone get into modeling?
Yeah, so first of all, you have to determine what category of modeling suits you, because there are so many categories of modeling. And I think there's room for so many people. It's just that you need to identify where do you fall. So for example, if you talk of runway modeling, you have to be a minimum of 5'7" feet. Now, if you talk of bikini modeling, you don't need to be so tall. You just need to be a bit hippie and a bit booby. Now, if you talk of body part modeling, even you can do body part modeling. If you talk of commercial modeling, all of us in this room can do commercial modeling, because commercial modeling is now like acting. Yes.
So there are stages to it, there are different categories to it, and everyone can fit somewhere.
Yes.
All right. So let's get into fashion shows. You produce fashion shows. You've been doing that for the past 13 years.
Yes.
That's more than a decade. That's too many years. So when it comes to producing of fashion shows, first of all, let's look at Kenya. How is that landscape, the fashion show landscape in the country?
So at the moment, it's picking up. There are so many events. But when we started, there were very few events. There were only big events that were already known. But even when I was entering the space of fashion show production, I started very small. You know, we used to charge 200 shillings, 150 shillings for people to come and enjoy the show. So it was more of a passion than even the monetary aspect. So, but right now where we are, there are so many fashion shows, and it has grown, and there's a huge impact, and it's actually supporting and helping a lot of creatives. So there is huge growth. Yeah,
there's growth in that area. I can agree with you on that, because I've seen quite a number of fashion shows happening. We've actually covered some of yours, you know, on Grapevine, which is a program that also airs right here on Channel 1. So when it comes to producing fashion shows, what goes into that as well?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first, you have to do model castings. So even before you do model castings, you have to do designer call, where you have to identify or look for designers who are interested in joining the event. And that's also a lot of work, because you have to convince the designers that the show is going to give them value. So designers also want a platform that is going to give them value.
Yeah.
And then once you get designers, if your event has vendors, then you also have to look for vendors. Again, you have to convince the vendors that you're giving them a diverse audience and a very wide audience that is different from their demographic. And then when it comes to model casting, you also have to look for models. And for example, for my shows, I look for models who fit in the runway category. So I also have to find models, so I have to do auditions and find models who fit in the category that I'm looking for. And also that's not easy, because you can do auditions and then you have like 1,000 models, for example, and then out of 1,000 models, only maybe 20 fit the bracket. So it's also not easy. And then you have to have a team, you have to look for sponsorship, which is also a nightmare. And then you have to look for media coverage. So it's a lot of work. Yeah, planning, marketing, selling tickets. Yes.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It needs a big team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, there's the Kenyan fashion story. You're the founder of it.
Yes.
Tell us about the Kenyan fashion story and what brought about the idea.
So the Kenyan fashion story has a bit of a twist to it, because it's like storytelling meets fashion. As opposed to fashion shows where audience come, they see models on the runway. Sometimes the audience leave without even knowing the names of the designers.
True.
So sometimes they go and they call you and say, oh, so you remember that designer? That they don't remember the names. So I felt there was something missing. So I figured, how can I do an event that will make the creatives or the designers involved to be memorable forever? So then I came up with the concept of the Kenyan fashion story, where we do a pre-event podcast. So it starts with a pre-event where designers are narrating their journeys, how they began, what inspired them, until on the fashion show day. So on the fashion show day, what happens is when the models are walking on the ramp, the designers are the ones talking. So every category, every time there's a designer's outfits on the stage, it's the designer telling us the collection and what inspired the collection and how we can find them. Because the goal is to push the Made in Kenya agenda.
Amazing.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
And on that note, we'll take a short break. Don't you go too far. Entertainment Thursday gets to continue shortly. And we are back. Thank you so much for staying with us. In studio with me is a fashion entrepreneur and the founder of the Kenyan fashion story. Her name is Ingred Awuor. And by the way, Ingrid, I've not told you look really nice.
Thank you.
I mean, you're a fashion entrepreneur, so it's a given that you would look good from head to your shoes. So now you were just telling me about the Kenyan fashion story and how different it is from the usual fashion shows that we are used to. And I love the idea. You were telling me that we'll have the designers getting to talk about their collection. So is this pre-recorded or they're doing it live on the show?
They're doing it live on the show. So while the models are walking, the designer is telling the story of the collection, how they created the collection, the name of the collection, what inspired the collection, and the challenges they go through. And then now, this way the designer can engage with us deeper.
Yeah,
yes.
Because I was telling you off air, the fashion shows that I've gotten to attend, we never really get to know the designers.
Yeah.
We never even get to hear their voice or them telling us their name, because the only time we see them is after the models are done showcasing on the runway. When they're doing their last walk, the designer comes in with them, does the walk, just does a bow, waves and goes away. So we never really get to interact with them, and they're the main people in that, because they're the ones who've made all these outfits that we've made. So I think it's a really good initiative. So while you were coming up with that, was it entirely for designers to get to be known?
So the platform is for the designers are the priority, because I feel like a lot of Kenyans or a lot of us don't understand the designing world. So sometimes we even confuse designers with tailors. and it's two different things. So I felt like designers, we need to hear their voices first, and then also models. Also, because this platform is for underrepresented designers. Yes, so we need to hear their voices, we need to understand, and also from this perspective, the audience will start to understand, oh, this is why they charge what they charge. It's not an easy task to come up with a whole collection or outfits, because we need to get Kenyans to promote products that are made locally. So that is why the Kenyan fashion story is connecting you deeper to the creatives. Yes.
Yeah, and the fashion world is quite diverse.
Yeah.
It is huge. You know, sometimes when we hear of fashion, we just assume, okay, it's just, you know, but it entails a lot. It brings a lot of people together to get to, sorry, to get to entirely, you know, bring up or put up a particular look and all that. So with what you're doing with the designers, it's really something that should be applauded. And when we talk about designers in Kenya, do we have many of those?
Yeah, we do have a lot of designers, especially the underrepresented ones. There are so many, but people don't know they exist. And also people mistake them for tailors, because there are some designers who are tailors, you know, but then there are designers who are not tailors.
All right, so classify for us. They're designers. People mainly confuse designers, tailors, and stylists.
Yes.
So give us that differentiation.
Okay, so a designer sketches. All right, a designer will think of an outfit. They will come sketch it, they will draft the patterns, they will cut, then the tailor will now do the sewing bit. Okay, but remember, the designer has thought of the fabric they want to use, the texture, the color, the durability. Okay, so that's not an expertise of a tailor. Then there's the tailor who only sews, and then there's a stylist who now wants to dress a celebrity or wants to dress their clients, and then they have to come to the designer to get the piece that is already made by a designer. So stylists are not designers. Yes.
For them, they just put pieces together.
Yes, they put pieces together. They know what goes with what, and they come and style you. And also designers cannot style. A lot of designers don't have the gift of styling.
That's really interesting. Like you have the gift to sketch something and come up with it, but you don't really, you can't really be a stylist. But not all of them. There are those who are.
There are some designers who are gifted at styling, but not many. And that's why a lot of designers also work with stylists, even when they're launching a collection, because a stylist will tell you this goes with this color goes with this color. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so for maybe there's a designer who's watching right now and they feel like they are underrepresented. You said that you work mainly with underrepresented designers. How do they get to you so that they can be able to be part of your fashion shows?
So for the November show, the slots are fully booked.
Okay.
So we will have another event next year, April. So there is the show for November 2nd, and then next year we will have 2 editions. So if they follow our social media handles at the Kenyan Fashion Story on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, then they can get to see the updates, because we do designer calls whenever before the fashion show.
All right.
Yes.
So tell me about the show that is coming up in November. You mentioned 2nd?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the Kenyan Fashion Story happening on the 2nd of November at Barrels and Stools. We also went for Barrels and Stools because it's giving made in Kenya. It's very eclectic, and rustic. So the event will happen there. It will begin at 4 p.m. to midnight. We will have vendors, so there will be shopping experience, and there will be the fashion show beat, there will be live interviews, because even our audience, we want to know why they are supporting us. We want to know what inspires their spirit of Made in Kenya. So we want to engage with everybody to hear everyone's perspective and just to come together as a community that supports Made in Kenya.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and as we wind up on this particular interview, maybe I feel like most Kenyans, that's my take, don't really wear Kenyan.
Yes.
You know, so maybe what should we do in order for us to start wearing more of Kenyan designs and designers? You know, where's the gap for us?
So I think first it starts with awareness. So a lot of Kenyans are not aware that they can get a bomber jacket, style it with jeans and a simple top. So I think there's lack of awareness where probably a lot of Kenyans think that these outfits are made for a certain demographic. So they need to understand that these outfits are for everyone. Like what I'm wearing is made in Kenya. This is my creation.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful.
So and you look at it and you may think it's imported.
True.
But it's not. So I think it's the awareness, and with these events coming up, more people should attend and see the work. And actually, a lot of people think that the outfit they see on a runway, they cannot wear it. So, you know, they need to attend events and actually see that these outfits are wearable. Yes. Yeah.
And I think also most times people assume that made in Kenya outfits has to be kitenge outfits.
Yes.
You know, and maybe for some they don't really love vitenge, so they're like, yeah. But you can get any kind of outfit made from a designer from Kenya with whichever fabric. You get to choose the fabric, and the designer will actually make it for you. All right, thank you so much, Ingrid, for coming through to the show. You've not mentioned where people can get tickets.
Tickets are available at kenyabuzz.com.
Okay.
Yes.
Going for how much?
2,500 regular, and we also have group tickets.
All right.
Yes.
All the best on that fashion show.
Thank you.
I'm purposing to attend.
Thank you so much.
Because I'd really love to see that. It's so new, whereby the designer is speaking as the models are, you know, strutting the runway.
Yeah.
All right, this is where we end this particular interview with the fashion designer that is Ingred Awuor. Don't you go too far, because when we come back, we'll be speaking about the film industry. Stay tuned.
Shoes are my guilty pleasure. I'm a size 9 and you don't want measure. You can never walk a mile and I do it every time. When I step into the club, Nico Tessa.